We are the Guinea Pig Collective. All will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Cliffjumper, what are you doing?
I've got a dead center in my viewfinder.
When you saw the defendants, were you wearing your glasses?
I want all of you boys to be able to look me straight in the eye one more time and say, are we having fun or what?
By taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat.
I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. Let's do it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Cage Talks, where we converse one-on-one with a different creator every time, asking questions to get to know them a little better. And right now we're going to say hello to the chat and everybody that has popped in. What's going on? Stony One Kenobi, good to see you, man. CJH also in the house, not to be confused with CJH. I hear you, CJH. Lurch in the house, what's up? Lurch like return, man. Always good to see you. Adam Superfan, show hand, hail the chat. What's up, my pickers? What's going on? Started Poopish Cube Burr, what's going on? Hello, humans and other critters, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. CJP also in the chat as well. What's going on? Time Prophet, good to see you. And Melee K of Melee Games, what is going on? And welcome. And here we go. We are getting ready to get started here. Today we will be joined by CJP of Forgotten One Music. How you doing, CJP?
You know, it's not frozen over at the moment, so much better. It was cold as balls here yesterday, so, you know.
The weather has definitely been hitting, like even here in Florida, we have not been spared by it. It's been dipping down. Okay, so 40s might not sound, 50s, 40s might not sound bad to everybody else in the northern states, but down here in Florida, that is pretty bitterly cold. People are in their Arctic parkas. They're building fires on the side of the street in barrels to keep warm. First time I moved to Florida, it was like 60 some odd degrees one winter, and I seen people with those big Arctic puffy jackets on. I'm like, you kidding me, right? You're kidding me. But after you're down here for a while, you get acclimated to the weather, and yeah, like anything under a certain degree, it does start feeling a bit nippy. I wouldn't say heavy jacket nippy, but chilly nonetheless for those that are uninitiated, I suppose.
Yeah, we got down, was it Monday night? I think we were at negative 11 overnight.
Oof. Nasty weather.
And of course, I'm in like the center of the country, so we get the extremes. We'll go from negative 11 in January to 111 in August.
Yeah, you know, I went out to Yellowstone Park once. So we were cutting through Wyoming, and on the way out there from the East Coast, you know, out by we went all the way across from Pennsylvania, all the way across, and we stopped off in Wyoming right before we got to Yellowstone Park because you know parks closed after a certain hour. So we just camped out in one of these side campground stops on the side of the road. And it was over 90 some odd degrees during the day, and it was something like 50 at night. And I was like, whoa, what a quick temperature change overnight. Like, yeah, nasty.
Now, I'm not saying Mother Nature's schizophrenic, but she's at least bipolar.
Just a little bit. What's going on, Papa Cotton? What's going on, man? Guys, remember to go ahead and share this one out there. I am the most hated guinea pig on YouTube, and they absolutely just despise me for some damn reason. So we are going to go ahead and get into this discussion, and we're going to get to know you a little bit better, and hopefully everybody in the chat is going to get to know you a little bit better and maybe want to check you out after this, guys. In case you didn't notice, his link is in the title description right there at the top, so you can't miss it. So you can go ahead and sub to him if you would be so kind, or if you want to wait to check him out, that's just as well too. I always say check out people before you subscribe, but you know it doesn't cost you anything, and if you don't mind, thank you for doing that. So let's get into our first question.
What happened to then? We passed then. When? Just now. We're at now. Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
So, of course, the first question is going to be when. So, the first question is simple. When did you first make your channel?
Well, I've had a YouTube handle since about 2012, but I never did anything with it. I just would watch, and I never even really commented on anything. I just would consume YouTube like most normies would do. So I'd say about 2019, 2020 is when I really started to actually decide I'm going to start putting out music, because COVID was it. Everyone was locked down by the government, and I couldn't go play anywhere. All the bars were shut down, the casinos. We had no place to play our trade. So it's like, well, I've got a little keyboard here. I've got a bunch of virtual instruments, and start making some music and actually putting it out there. Because I've written stuff for decades. I just never actually released it to the wild.
I think that's the thing with a lot of people when they start creating music. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I still do. I mean, I haven't played in a band, and I don't even remember how many years it's been now. But I mean, I'm still always writing. Always writing. I always pick up the bass, and at least 2 or 3 times a month, I'm writing new bass notes. Sometimes I'm writing full songs, and it's just something I just don't do anything with right now. I don't know about you, but I really hate incomplete works. So it doesn't matter how good I think the bass line sounds, unless I can incorporate it with something else, I am not going to release it. The few rare examples of that is when I was able to create extra music along with the bass line. So when what was my oldest guinea pig, Cringer, died, I created like an outro song for him that I played. So, I mean, something like that has been like one of the rare and few exceptions where I've done a little bit more with the music. But yeah, it never stops. Like once you have that bug, it never ends and it never goes away.
Oh yeah, I've got music that's half finished from at least 20 to 25 years ago. That eventually I will finish it. I mean, they're for the most part done. The biggest problem I have is, being by myself, is doing vocals. It's hard to record vocals when you're on your own.
It's really hard to hear it too, especially when you don't got a proper setup. So, I mean, when I do any kind of vocals for stuff and I record it, I play it back first, and then I have to adjust my vocals so it gets to where I can tolerate the sound.
Well, and I'm also kind of waiting on my sister has a studio in Houston that she runs off the side for her business, and she's been slowly upgrading equipment. So once she gets that up and running, I'll actually be able just to go down and record with her and not have to pay anything, which is fantastic. I love when family has equipment.
Yeah. Goddamn, studio time could get really expensive too, especially when you got to do track over track and vocals. It really sucks going in the studio because you got to record it multiple times to be able to get that nice stereo sound out of it. Like I think a lot of people don't realize that. I think people just go in the studio and they record the vocal tracks just once. No, usually those vocal tracks are layered. That's why you get that really nice melodic sound out of it, because they've recorded their vocals a few different times.
Oh yeah. And back in the day, I think it was George Martin had come up with a way to kind of do a double track without actually doing a double track. But I've never figured out how he actually accomplished that, because he's George Martin. He was a fucking genius. And the studio equipment is far different from what we use these days. Yeah.
Well, when the band that I was in the first time we went into the studio, they were actually still using analog to record with. And then the next time we went in, it was digital already. I'm like, well, shit.
I actually put out on my channel, I've got the entire demo that I recorded when I was in college, and he was still using analog. He had ADAT, but he was still an analog studio that we used at the time. So if you really want to hear some early rough vocals and drums on my end, it's like the bottom playlist on my channel.
Time Prophet saying CJP has a pod mic. I just got a pod mic pro. Nice.
I love Rode equipment, and I always have, because I've got the Podcaster, and then I've actually got their Pod NT1, or not the Pod, but their NT1 vocal mic for when I actually do record vocals for that. So yeah, I've been a huge fan of their microphones for years.
Yeah, I'm still working with a cheap one. Well, number one, I really don't have no room for a nice boom and everything like that. Unfortunately, the desk that I'm working with, I'm very limited space because, well, the guinea pigs take up most of the space in my living room. So I've got to work around them. Time Prophet says he just wrote 2 new songs 2 days ago. Record it, but I got to work out the drums for it. Nice. What's going on, Trina? Good to see Trina in the house as well. And what's going on, Keely Chow? Good to see you.
We don't have any mug shotties for him to drool over today. So
it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Rest in peace, Cringer. Time Prophet also said George Martin did a double track by using phasing, so the frequency of each track was different.
That makes sense.
And what's going on, Soul Assassin? I'm sorry.
My first concert. I've never been in a mosh pit because I'm kind of a pussy. But my first concert I actually remember going to was 1964's The Beatles. I was like 10 years old, maybe. No, I was about 9 when that happened. And there was one of those Beatles tribute groups. But they only played the stuff that they toured with. They didn't play anything past Rubber Soul because that was kind of their gimmick.
Yeah. Oh, goddamn. When I was younger and I had the time and the money to do it, I used to go out to a lot of different places to go watch bands play. I remember, I think we went to, I'm trying to remember where it was. I can't remember if it was the Forum or where it was, but we'd gone to one of the Headbangers Ball tours.
Nice.
That they were doing. And that was a lot of fun. Then we went to, this is back when it was still the Spectrum, and we seen Metallica when they were just doing Injustice for All. And then numerous Ozzy going to Ozfest events. Like there was just so many different bands to see at Ozfest. So, I mean, like if there was bands you didn't see before, more than likely you were going to have a chance to see them at Ozfest.
I unfortunately never really got to see a lot of concerts just because I was always poor. I did see Yes in Asia. That was the last concert I went to with my dad in 2009. And that was an interesting double bill because Steve Howe was playing with both groups and he played the intermission. So, the guy in his, at that time he was in his late 70s playing the entire 3 hours. Like, goddamn.
Goddamn, is that a shot across the bow? Time Prophet doesn't look old enough to know who the Beatles are. What the?
Despite appearances, I'm only 45. So I just made over really quick.
Yeah, that's one that actually sticks in my craw right there, Iron Maiden. So there was the one year I was going to Ozfest. I was supposed to see it because Iron Maiden was supposed to be on that tour along with Suicidal Tendencies. And right before they came to, because I was still in Jersey at the time, right before they came to the freaking, I think that was called the Twitter Center or whatever the hell it was back then. Right before they came to that arena, Sharon pulled Iron Maiden off the damn tour, and Suicidal had dropped out because they had other tour dates that they were scheduled for. So I missed both of them.
It's Sharon, she runs all.
She gets crazy. But we're going to get into the second question. You've already partially answered it, but we'll ask it again for anybody that might not have caught it.
Why so serious?
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
So the second question is, why exactly did you make your channel?
Yes, again, it was really because of COVID. We were all shut down, and I needed to make music. And oddly enough, it was kind of a push from watching FNT and all them, saying, if you've got a passion for something, make a channel, do it. Like, well, he's not wrong. So I have a passion for music, and then that's when I wanted to start doing actually producing and releasing music. And then the podcast actually started about 4 months ago now. I think I'm going on, and it was just because I missed the days of Guitar Center when I was working there and just talking music and gear for hours on end with other musicians that would come in. So I wanted to have a space where, I could bring other musicians on and we can just talk gear and music.
That's an awesome thing too. I mean, there is something to be said, and that's one of the reasons I really hate to see where a lot of things are going now too, with the disappearance of some brick and mortar, or the should I say the influx of traffic that a lot of brick and mortar places get. Because as that traffic starts disappearing, brick and mortars will disappear and then everything will be online, and you miss that one-on-one interaction that you get to have with certain people. Because you can find out most of your answers online, most of them, but you're not going to get every single answer the way exactly that you want it answered unless you're actually dealing with somebody that knows. And that's one thing that's awesome about going to whether it's Guitar Center or a few of the other local shops that you might have that sell any kind of instruments or any kind of band equipment, is you can actually get some like personal attention. Somebody's going to understand exactly what you're looking for, what kind of tone and sound that you're looking for out of the instruments you're getting. And you're not always going to get those answers online. So, I mean, there is something, you said it's a little bit more personal about going to a brick and mortar store and being able to converse with somebody.
And I just, the other thing I liked about Guitar Center was the musicians that would come in. And, because a lot of them were the local, musicians around the area. But like I got to meet Tom Morello through that. He's kind of a dick. But a guy that came in was a bass player. His name was Butch Ramsey. And he had an 11-string Conklin bass. I'd never seen an 11-string. No idea how he played it. But god damn, could he make that thing sing.
Yeah, I've never seen one. I've seen 6 and 5s, mostly, and that was about it. And both of them were just ridiculous to play because of how wide the fretboard is.
Yeah,
especially,
so I don't know how he played this. It was weird.
Especially trying to play something like that on stage. Oof. Tripping over everything, and then you're playing with your hands around this big wide fretboard. Nah. And not for me. I had a nice Rickenbacker that was a 5-string, and it was a beautiful sounding piece, but it was just impractical for what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I've tried playing a 5-string bass. I just can't get used to it. I'm so used to a 4-string that I don't know if I could do a 5. Of course, I don't really ever need it because I don't really go that low with the music that I write. So
yeah, so few bands really do take full advantage of that. I mean, there was a few, like Typo Negative is one of the ones that pops into my head. Like Peter Steele loved playing on that freaking low B. That was his thing for a lot of his damn songs. So you got that really dark, gritty sound out of the freaking bass. So,
although I wouldn't mind eventually owning an actual like upright stand-up bass with a C extension.
Oh. Yeah, I wish I had room for something like that. I barely have any room for the cheap acoustics that I had now, and I did have to sell one of them just because I ran out of room. I had like a Mitchell short neck bass. Yeah, it was impractical for what I needed. It was just taking up space. I didn't use it quite as much as the Ibanez, so I was like, yeah, took it to Guitar Center and got scratched for it.
Yeah, I did that. I had a Fender Jazz Bass Plus from '94, but I just wasn't playing it. And I like active electronics for the most part, but I hate changing the battery in it because you have to actually remove the entire back plate. This is before they figured out, oh, hey, if we make a separate compartment for the battery, that might be more beneficial and easier of use. But that was before they figured that out. So
I know I have a problem with mine with the little pack for the battery, the little pull-out piece. It jiggles around a lot, so it winds up creating a buzz throughout the body. And I'm constantly smacking the bottom of the damn thing to make the buzz go away when I'm playing.
And most people don't like my bass because it's heavy as beat all else, because I use an old PVT 40, 1979 model. But it has coil tap humbuckers, and it's the closest I've gotten to a Rickenbacker sound without shelling out the $3,000 to $4,000 for a Rickenbacker. Because I love the 4001. That's my dream bass. I want a Rick 4001, but I don't have $3,000 just to throw at a bass.
And this is true for a lot of people. I mean, what's going on, LDG? Evening to you too. Time Prophet says he has 6 guitars and 2 of them are acoustics. Nice.
See, I've got 2 electric kits, full acoustic kit, 2 acoustics, electric, and bass. That's what I'm down to, and a mandolin now.
Oh shit!
I learned that for one song.
Have you ever tried messing with a banjo?
I have. When I was working at Guitar Center, I messed around with it quite a bit. It's fun. I'm just not something I would normally pick up on.
Yeah, I thought about it. I thought about it and then I changed my mind because it just seemed like they were so hard to keep in tune.
Mm-hmm. And mandolin's a little bit different too, because it's technically 8 strings, but it's a 4-string instrument, but it's tuned like a violin, so it's tuned backwards from a guitar or a bass.
Not Jesus Christ, Time Prophet. They only have a bass player in a band, so they got someone to help carry the drums. You son of a bitch. Soul Assassin wants to know, what's the first song you learned to play?
That's easy. On guitar, What I Like About You by the Romantics. On drums, Mellow Yellow by Donovan. That's easy. Because they've stuck in my head for, going on 30 years now that I've been playing. And it was my sister that taught me. Because she had a guitar and a drum set at her apartment, because she's about 9.5 years older than me, and she moved out when I was 10. And so, I would go over to her place and just, get to pluck around and play around on it. So, yeah, she was the one that taught me my first chord and my first drum beat.
And that is something else about music. It's so universally understandable by people, and it actually spans so many different generations. So as you're growing up and your parents, my parents, it was like the car radio all the time, hearing all these old songs. And a lot of those old songs kind of stuck with me over the years. And I mean, grew up in a time where if you weren't listening to just one certain type of music, you were a poser.
Yeah.
But then you
had a lot of
there
in my family, so.
Well, you sit there and you listen to some of these people that are considered some of the, greatest, for example, like one of the bass players that inspired me to want to play was Cliff Burton.
Mm-hmm.
Guy was just fantastic, and most people didn't know that he was classically trained, and a lot of his stuff was very classic derivative type of style playing that he was doing, and that comes from having I'm not going to use that word, having a wide variety of play styles, because I hate the D word. I can't stand it anymore. The people on Twitter have ruined that word for me.
I got something for this.
What in the hell's diversity?
Well, I could be wrong, but I believe diversity is an old wooden ship that was used during the Civil War era.
Yeah, I'm with you on that word, though. Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain words, it just gets so sick of hearing them and you don't want to hear them anymore. Time Prophet says it's easy for him to smoke on the water. Jesus, how many people smoke on the water, or it's a stairway to heaven? No stairway.
and I'll straight up say Ringo Starr was one of my inspirations as a drummer when I was really little. And everyone's like, "Oh, Ringo sucked." I'm like, well, no. One, he's left-handed. He plays a right-handed kit, so all his fills start with the opposite hand of what you would do if you're playing on a right-handed kit. So they are different. And two, he played to the song and played in the pocket. And to me, those were way more important than, being Tommy Lee with a rotating cage and 5,000 drums.
Mm-hmm. And I think at some point, a lot of drummers and bass players got away from that grooving together. I mean, you are if you're a bass player and you're a drummer, you are the rhythm section. So you got to hold the rhythm down. And at some point, a lot of bass players just wanted to double up on the guitars, and the drummer just wanted to do their own thing instead of working together in tandem to really make the song special with the underlying rhythm track. And it really is a shame that so many got away from that.
No. And yeah, I know the joke, that Ringo wasn't even the best drummer in the band, but he was what they needed. They needed something solid to keep them from going off the rails.
And sometimes keeping it simple is the best way to go about it.
Charlie Rich from the Rolling Stones, he's not a phenomenal drummer, but good. He kept time perfectly. Although he dropped his eighth notes, which drove me insane. That was the only thing about him I couldn't stand. So every time he would hit the snare, he would drop the hi-hat. And it's like, why are you doing that?
Very, very. It's very weird. We had a drummer, my God, this guy couldn't stop with the rototoms. Everything had to be rototoms. Dude, I am going to rattle those rototoms off your head if you play one more down those freaking things. I'm going to kill you. but it kind of is what it is. I got a few more questions I want to get through, and then it's going to be open panel time, and everything that we've already been doing right now, discussing about music and everything, you could just let loose on all of it. Of course, chat, if you got any questions you want to ask CJP, of course, put them in there, and we will be able to get into them. But let's get to our next question.
Now I'm really angry. This is fucking war.
So, what are some of the drawbacks to online sites, and what aggravates you? What pisses you off about online?
Well, one, YouTube continuously fucking with the algorithm, because I have been on the razor's edge of monetization since October, and every time I start to inch close, I get either flattened or I start to lose, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? What is it?
It is actually absolutely freaking infuriating, some of the shit that they pull. And I've been going through it for a number of years. And a lot of people that know me pretty well have seen some of the bullshit they pulled with me. And goddamn, it just gets so frustrating. Like I've always said, I'm not here to like be rich on YouTube or anything. It would be nice if eventually YouTube paid for itself.
Yeah.
So, because like the cost for StreamYard for the year, cost for video editing software, all that stuff kind of adds up onto your normal everyday expenses. And especially with the kind of economy we're in right now, it really does pinch a lot. Mm-hmm. So it would be nice to just get to the point where YouTube pays for itself and I don't have to worry about that. So,
yeah. And, another thing, like I'm not a fan of Spotify. Just I'm a weirdo when it comes to listening to music, because when I listen to a band, like I say, if I'm wanting to listen, I'm going through Alan Parsons' project on and I've got the play, everything on my phone. I start from the first album, first track, and I work my way all the way through their discography. I very rarely will switch to another band when I'm in the middle of listening to one, but I'm just weird that way. There's not very many people that listen to music like that.
I mean, back in the day when a lot of us were listening to LPs, freaking pop on the record and you'd listen to that thing all the way back. I mean, sometimes, I don't know about you, but I would set my needle to auto. So we'd go back and then play that whole side of that album again sometimes.
and I have to number my folders in when I load music onto my phone or anything else, because I want to make sure that because most of the playback programs that you use, they don't sort by year. So I actually have to go in and add it manually. So I make sure that it goes from, Tales of Mystery and Middle Imagination all the way through to, oh God, what was their last album? Stereonami? Yeah, Stereonami. I know way too much about Alan Parsons' project.
There ain't nothing wrong with that, man. I've always said there's no such thing as useless knowledge. There just may be knowledge that not everybody wants to hear.
Exactly.
I've been trying to tell my wife that for years about my freaking fascination with Transformers, and she still doesn't care. You don't listen to music on your phone?
Well,
yeah, I hear
you. I use my phone is because I use it on Bluetooth in my car. Because I had a hard drive in there, but then the USB cable back behind somehow got pinched, so it kept disconnecting the hard drive, and I just got infuriated with it. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just use my phone.
No, I know my wife does. She uses like, what is that? Yeah, I think she still uses Spotify. And she was trying to get me, and I was like, no. I've already got my phone tied up with all kinds of videos and everything from working for stuff for YouTube, because my phone is not really a phone. It's really more of a camera for me. So,
well, the one good thing that the YouTube algorithm introduced me to was Japanese jazz fusion from the 80s. That was a genre I was not that familiar with, and I found some fantastic music through that. Again, because of COVID, because I had nothing else to do.
That is something too. You're going to wind up finding stuff you never heard of anything, and it doesn't matter the space and the time that's distance between you and the artist, the different cultures and everything like that. There's certain music that could just resonate with anybody, and I think that's one of the things that's absolutely amazing about music, how it could touch people from all walks of life. I mean, I think that's something that is universally fundamental for most people to be able to exist to a certain degree. Like if you had no music, I mean, just think about a world with absolutely no music to it whatsoever. Like how dull and dreary it would be.
Well, and getting into that jazz fusion rabbit hole, discovering, my dad listened to a lot of this style of music from Germany in the 70s. So you had European jazz fusion, then the Japanese did it in the 80s. I've heard it from Latin America. And, so in 3 very disparate parts of the world, all playing essentially the same music. So to me, it's just, it's like food. You can have food from, you can have Cuban food or, Italian food or Chinese food, but you all can share it and enjoy it because it's food.
It's food for thought too.
Mm-hmm. And food like music is meant to be shared.
Absolutely, it is. All right, we got 2 more questions. 2 more. Can you believe that? Only 2. Half hour in, we've already made it through almost all the questions. This is not bad. I think it took a little bit longer to get through it all with Adam, but don't take that personal, Adam. Don't send the wiener dogs after me. But here we go.
What did you expect? Welcome, Sonny.
So, did you have any expectations or goals when you were creating your channel?
No, I just really wanted to, get my music out there, and if people listen to it, that's great. If they didn't, that's on them.
No, that's awesome. And that's the thing, because you're having fun. And that's one of the things I always say, as long as you're having fun, this is a great outlet to do it, regardless of the crap that YouTube pulls or any of these other online services. As long as you're having a good time and you're able to connect with people and share, because like that was one of the biggest things when I was playing in a band. It wasn't, so much going out and playing gigs and maybe getting paid for it, because sometimes we played without getting paid. That's name of the game when you're first starting off. But it was more about the interaction with the crowd and how they reacted to the songs and everything. That meant a lot more to me than grabbing some cash at the end of the night.
And a lot of it's also pushed me to learn new things. Not only in the music production side, but I've never done video editing before 2020. Never tried to touch it, never wanted to. I just wanted to make music. But having to put it on YouTube, it's still a visual medium. So you need to have something visually there to be able to, for people to want to watch it and listen to it. So I had to, I learned DaVinci over the last year, which was an interesting program to learn. I mean, I like it. The fact that it's free and it's got a ton of features that you wouldn't expect in a free program, but it can also be finicky.
No, most of these programs can be. I mean, even with this Wondershare Filmora thing that I'm still using, some of it is very intuitive and super simple to use, and then some things are just a huge pain in the ass. Like, why did they make this so difficult when everything else in this program works a little bit easier? Like, it just a horse's ass. But I mean, that's part of the game. But once you get used to it, it becomes easier and easier. I mean, unless you got crappy internet like I do, and your film editor relies on your internet to work, then you might have a problem. Tree Rock spends most of his time in elevators. Oh no, ZZ Top, Afterburner.
That was a great album though.
Heart 1985 and Genesis Invisible Touch. I don't know, you might be onto something here, Papa. Time Prophet says he uses Premiere Pro and After Effects.
Yeah. I use the only Adobe product I've ever really used is Photoshop. I've been using that for decades.
I know they had a really good Photoshop that was free for a while, and then when I got my wife had upgraded my phone because I bitched about the lack of storage space on the phone and how it kept like freezing up on me. So she got me I think it was a 14. I think it was 14. And Jesus, like the Adobe Photoshop I had just went poop, goodbye. No longer works with your Apple 14. I was like, oh, well, that's wonderful. I used to use that to do a lot of different shit, including creating memes, because I had nothing better to do at the time.
And going back to the what makes me angry is everything going to a goddamn subscription. Photoshop, Pro Tools.
Mm-hmm.
No, just release it and then maybe do an upgrade in a couple years. That's all we need. We don't need a yearly subscription. I'm sorry. That's just milking people.
It is, and it has gotten absolutely ridiculous. There was a few of them that I picked up earlier, and they were free at first. Like there was My Pets or My Pets Plus or My Pet something, My Talking Pet. That's what it's called. So I use that for the guinea pigs, like in like BattleBot videos. I have Barnes that looks like he's talking. I use My Talking Pet to do that. And at first that was free. Then they started charging. Well, you want to keep using it, you got to pay for it. I'm like, well, shit, I still got to make things, so I'm going to have to keep this for now. I mean, luckily, it's pretty cheap. It's only like a one-time per year subscription to it. So it's like, just say it's $21 for the whole damn year. It's a lot better than a monthly subscription that really starts adding up and gets expensive over time.
Oh, yeah. Like I'm still using Photoshop CS6. I stopped after that because that's when they went to their subscription version. I'm like, nope, not doing it. I don't care. I would love to use the AI feature that they've got built into the new version, but if I have to pay for it, no, fuck you.
You want a free Photoshop, then use Photoshop CS2. Huh?
CS2 is still good. I mean, there's really not a huge amount of difference between 2 and 6.
What up, Curtis, man? I hope that you're doing well. Good to see you. They're talking about Kenny G and Neil Diamond. Oh, no. No, thank you. Always use the free versions. You're damn right. If you don't have to pay for it, why should you? Especially if you can get something of equal quality. You heard Metallica in an elevator? Nice. All right. Well, we got one question to go, and this is the big one. Maybe.
What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna
do? So the question is, what can people expect to see next from you?
Well, currently I'm working on finishing up the GoldenEye CJP version of Castlevania 3's soundtrack for the NES, Dracula's Curse. Because I've done 1 and 2, and I've been plowing through 3, but 3 is about twice as long as the other 2 put together. So there's a lot of music to go through. I think I've got about 6 tracks left to do on that one. So I've been working on that. I will be working on a new album. I just put out Electronic Noise 2, which is my synthwave album. So I've got the second one of that just came out last month. So I'll be starting to ramp up writing for the third one because I've gotten to really like doing it, and I want to keep doing that style. And of course, I still love doing the GoldenEye sound font tracks as well, because those are really the things that drive my channel at the moment.
Do you have any problems with, like, if you're getting close to like an original version of the music? Have you had the problems with copyright? Because I know I've run into it a few times myself. Like I did my own version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme music, Transformers, it's even Star Wars. I did my own version of it, and I still had them coming after me for it, even though it's clearly isn't the original.
Right. Well, because the problem with music rights is it's one of the most nebulous of any of the performing art rights that you're going to run into. Because not only do you have the copyright on the performance, they have what's called the mechanical rights, and that's to the actual music. So you can do a cover or a parody, and they can still hit you for the sound, the chord progressions and all that.
Unless you changed it enough.
Enough, yeah. And most and what's weird is because I did every Bond movie in the watch theme format from GoldenEye, only half of them got hit because some of them they changed enough where I don't think the algorithm picked it up because the tempo was different or something like that. I'm not exactly sure which ones did and which ones didn't, why they didn't, because it's YouTube and they're not transparent at all about their copyright system. But I've never gotten a strike though. I've only gotten claims, and claims I'm not as worried about because I understand. Yeah, they do deserve some of the rights because it is a derivative of their work. And again, I know music law to an extent, and yeah, it's nebulous. I mean, do you remember the lawsuit that John Fogerty had in the 80s?
You're going to have to remind me about that.
He had just put out his first solo album, and it'd been like the first music he put out in a while since he left Creedence. And between him leaving Creedence and his solo album, the rights to who owned Creedence's music had changed hands, I think 2 or 3 times. And the current rights holder at the time heard his album, like, well, no, that's our stuff. Not doing the research, not understanding that he wrote the bulk majority of Creedence's music. So they sued him for plagiarizing their catalog. In essence, he was sued for plagiarizing himself.
And that's kind of funny too, because I mean, I just know from doing things in the band. So the original writers of that, they have a certain claim to the music and how the music was presented originally in its original format for like at the time when I filed it was something like 75 years.
Yep, I don't think that's changed yet.
Okay, and you know what? I mean, I guess there could be something said about if they, the rights to the band music was sold off, but that's the band music. Like if you're talking about the original creator using it, I don't see how they could hit him for it. Yeah. I mean, unless he agreed to sign off his share of it.
Well, and even then, but it wasn't like he was re-recording any of the old music. This was all brand new music that he was getting sued over, which was what made it even funnier. Because it wasn't like I'm gonna Taylor Swift and re-record all the Creedence stuff myself. He was writing all brand new music, but it sounded like his Creedence stuff because he wrote it, so that's his style. And so he actually ended up having to play the songs in court to prove that that's how he writes. And he ended up winning the lawsuit, but mainly it was because the people who had bought the rights didn't know music. They just thought, hey, this is going to make me some money. I'll take the rights. And that's what happens, unfortunately, to a lot of artists that don't have a lawyer help them set up their contracts, and they get royally screwed with their publishing rights. Because you can write a song and have your name as a songwriter, but if you don't have the publishing rights, you're fucked. That's what happened to Taylor Swift, very honestly. Her record the publishing rights to her music.
Well, I'm sure that's happened to a lot of musicians. I mean, they didn't even realize what they were signing away. Papa Cotton brings up Roger Waters can't play Pink Floyd songs he wrote.
Yep. Because he doesn't own the mechanical rights to them anymore.
That's freaking horrible.
Yeah, he wasn't that great. It was David Gilmour was really who was the musical part of that band.
An awesome one. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Although we are playing, I have an 80s band that I play in. We do all 80s covers and we do costumes and lights and the whole 9 yards. And we're going to play this comic pop culture festival in a couple months. And we're like, well, we need to add some, comic book-ish related stuff. So unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of superhero shit in the 80s, very honestly, because you had Superman at the beginning and Batman at the end and fuck all in between.
Oh, what about that god-awful freaking Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie?
Well, no, like I said, we had really fuck all in between, Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton. So we're gonna do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song. We're gonna do DuckTales, and I think we can do Inspector Gadget. And then really the only superhero one we can do is, believe it or not, from The Greatest American Hero.
God, I loved that show as a kid. Matter of fact, that's another show when we were talking about earlier in the green room, like on Tubi. I was rewatching Greatest American Hero, and there's another one. Okay, really cheesy show, but still incredibly fun to watch.
And I think that's what we're missing from a lot of entertainment is the fun. Where's the kind of just goofy, carefree, fun entertainment we used to have? Everything has to be all dark, gritty, and serious now.
Or everything has to relate to modern times. Why?
Well, yeah. Or it's all girl boss chicanery.
What's up, Chaos Hoy? Good to see you. Time Prof says he has recently rewatched Greatest American Hero. Nice.
I like watching those old shows. There's just something. They're just so different from what we get now.
Oh, I mean, and this is the thing that drives us nuts. And by the way, we're into open panel discussions at this point. We've already burned through all our questions. Not too shabby, 44 minutes in, and we got through all of them. I know we usually try to give space for ETEP to run because he's doing the old school wrestling tonight. And I can't remember if he said he was going on at 8 or 8:05 or if he was going on at 8:35. I forget what time he said.
Last I heard was 8:05.
8:05. Okay, so we'll try to wrap it up right around 8 so we can get out of here. In case you're planning on heading over there too, because I'm going to try to head over there tonight for it.
I got to eat dinner first, and then I'm going to try to.
Oh God, where was I going with that thought? See, I lost that thought now. Jesus. See that I sidetracked myself, but now the fun element to a lot of shows is definitely missing, and everything has gotten dark and gloomy, and it's got to relate to modern times. And I know when I was growing up, I didn't grow up during the Korean War, but I could still watch and relate and enjoy MASH.
Mm-hmm.
So I shouldn't be able to, according to these people, because it should be for a more modern time. But no, I enjoyed that. Now, when I wound up getting something that technically was around the time when I was born, once again, not when the time I was growing up, but I really enjoyed this one. It was called Tour of Duty. It was about a platoon of guys in Vietnam. I enjoyed the shit out of that too. And I think I enjoyed a lot of those things more than I enjoyed the stuff that was actually set in the same time frame when I was growing up.
Yeah. Well, and nostalgia does play a big factor in a lot of that stuff too. Because I've rewatched a couple of old shows, and then they don't really hold up much anymore. They weren't as good as I thought they were back in the day, but they're still better than a lot of the shit we're getting now.
There's quite a few shows that, quite honestly, some of the older ones, I think they're actually even better than when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few on the top of my list that I feel like they're better than they were when I was younger. Battlestar, the original Battlestar Galactica, I feel is up there. Believe it or not, the original well, it's not the original, but the 1980s, early 70s, 80s version of Buck Rogers with Gil Garad. I feel like that one is even better than when I was younger, and I enjoyed the shit out of that when I was younger. And of course, some of these other ones like Barney Miller and stuff like that, even Gilligan's Island to a degree. I think I enjoy that a lot more now than I did when I was a kid. So,
well, because a lot of it is there's jokes that obviously would have gone over our heads as children.
Without a doubt.
So there's a lot of innuendo that we missed.
You didn't even know MASH was a movie first? Oh, shit.
And what's funny is the name of the theme song is Suicide is Painless.
Yes. Because it's in the original movie.
Yep. Always like that bit of trivia.
And many of us got that when Marilyn Manson did his remake of that. We understood where that came from. Yep. Some people just didn't get it. Like, why is he playing the MASH music? The Suicide is Painless, because that's the original song from the movie.
Yeah.
It never existed. First season of Buck Rogers was good, but the second season was poo. You know what? I enjoyed the second season too. And I know a lot of people had a problem with freaking Hawk and everything like that, but I really didn't mind it.
I didn't like what they did with what was her character name? The hot chick that was in the spandex all the time.
Oh, Aaron Gray?
Yeah.
I didn't like what they did. Wilma Deering.
Yeah, because her character was great in the first season. Because she didn't take shit from him. She was a girl boss without being a girl boss. She was proven to be competent at her job. It wasn't she got it because she had, a vagina. And then they really just nerfed her in that second season. I don't know why.
There was a few of those episodes where she actually almost was simping for Buck. Mm-hmm. It just came off as desperate.
Yeah. Obviously, the second season, you can definitely tell that was a lot of network interference. It's like that last season of the A-Team.
Mm-hmm.
That where they decided to go super spy instead of just them being the A-Team.
Mercenaries for hire.
A-Team.
What up, Krish?
A-Team, Knight Rider, Airwolf. God, those were my jams back in the day, especially Knight Rider. To this day, I still want to own a 82 Black Trans Am.
And what's up, Krish? And what's going on, Bone, man? What's up, Bone, man? I hope that you're doing well. Happy Taco Tuesday, man. Well, happy Taco Tuesday to you, too. I was a little kid. Being a nitpicky bitch boy wasn't a thing yet.
That's very true. Yeah. Well, we didn't have a lot of options to watch stuff, so we just had to watch what was on.
Airwolf was good until they ruined it in season 4.
Again, network interference. That's what they do.
It always seems to be the case with a lot of good shows.
Ratings started to take a dip. We got to retool the entire show to try to figure it out why we're losing it. It's like, no, just because you're kind of running your course. I mean, some shows aren't meant to go, 10 seasons. Some, 3 and you're good. Because you can overrun the premise. And there's only so many, people that the A team could con.
Well, I mean, when you're looking at some of these TV shows, do you think any of them like really had like the perfect run and stopped at the perfect time? I personally think MASH did it right. I feel like they ran their course. They did everything they possibly could do, extending a war that actually took a lot less time than the seasons of MASH took to run on air. And I think the way that they ended it was perfect because you could tell that they were starting to run out of material and they were like, okay, I think it's time to close the door on this. And I think they did it just the right time before it really started sliding.
Yeah. And then unfortunately, a lot of those shows, because of the networks, never got a proper finale. Or some way to wrap up what any loose dangling threads that they might have had. Like Scarecrow and Mrs. King did that too. And I was annoyed because I really liked that show. Bruce Boxleitner was great.
Classics aren't meant to be remade. I hear you, Chaos Boy. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. In Airwolf season 4, they removed all the main characters. They didn't even use a real helicopter at all.
Yeah. Again, that's network interference. Most of the time, if you look at an old show and something went wrong, 9 times out of the 10, you can point to the network. That's what they did with Firefly.
And it extends beyond, extends just beyond TV shows. I mean, we see that in movies.
Mm-hmm.
We see it in music to a degree.
Yep.
I mean, God, is there anything that they haven't infiltrated with that stuff where they, well, we need to rechange this and just completely ruin it, and they don't even realize what they're doing to ruin it.
And that's one reason I do like, the current era for independent media, because the bar to entry is so much lower now for people to get out and do what they're going to do. Either whether it be making movies or, making, episodic shows, making music. Unfortunately, there's a lot more direct you have to kind of wade through, but again, it's not a monopoly of, 5 people controlling what's going on.
Curtis, thank you as always for putting that. I seen you put it in the chat a couple times. Appreciate that, my friend. I do appreciate that. Pop Cotton, I sure hope not. I sure hope not. Well, nobody wants to see that Fruit Loop dancing on screen to his own Ukraine version of MASH.
Zelensky is a pussy.
He would have to play his own character if they did a show. Most shows shouldn't go past 6 seasons. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, Deadwood.
Well, it's especially, if there's a premise that they can only do so much with. Some shows like again, like when I was watching Northern Exposure, that one could have gone quite a while because they had, a bunch of side characters that, you could focus plots on. And it was just, about small town life in a rural Alaskan town. There's plenty of ways you can go with that. But, if you're like, again, the A team, you're mercenaries for hire. Well, there's only so many times you can be hired before everyone's hired you to solve your problem,
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's going on, DJ Ronnie G? Good to see you, man. I hope that you're doing well. He says, train me. Train time. All right. So is there any last thoughts, anything else that you want to add to this one?
No, just, if you have a passion for something, whether it be music or video or books or comics, whatever your passion is, just do it. Because even if nobody likes it, you've put out your own heart. And eventually someone will like it. Because you can't please everyone all the time,
Absolutely can't.
Nor should you. And nor should you make it to try to please everyone.
Well, you should always be happy with what you're doing first and foremost. Because if you're not, it's going to affect what you're doing. And then it's going to seem more of a chore than it is fun. And you start becoming miserable. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube do that. They treated this more like a job and a chore, and it's just something that they had to grind. They had to grind. Well, I got to grind. Well, if you're grinding, you're not having fun because you're treating it too much like work.
No. Although someone mentioned Babylon 5, though, I did love that show quite a bit because it really, again, network interference aside, he really did only plan it for 5 seasons. He actually wrote it as, I've got a beginning, a middle, and an end. He had to kind of shift the end a bit because of what they did for the 4th season. So the 4th season's basically 2 seasons of material kind of shoved into one. But I really think it helped that season be better because it cut out any fat. It was all story from episode 1 to episode 21. And then they had to make a new episode 22 because they got picked up by TNT. So they were able to do a 5th season. They just moved the actual series finale to the end of season 5. But he wrote it specifically as a beginning, middle, and end. And he had Harlan Ellison on the show as a creative consultant. And if you ever read any of his opinions on Gene Roddenberry, he hated that guy till the day he died.
I will say that there's probably a lot of those guys in Hollywood that if we got to know them, we probably couldn't stand them. But I mean, in the same token, a lot of those guys were creative visionaries. And so I look at that aspect of them first. And, granted,
I can understand Harlan's beef because he wrote City on the Edge of Forever, which to this day, most people still consider the greatest episode of Star Trek, the original series, if not the greatest Star Trek episode of all time. And he didn't know that it had been written until he watched the episode. He never got notification that Roddenberry had made changes. So that's why he was pissed at him for all of eternity. He had a legit reason to be beefing with him. But I remember he had a quote one time that was hilarious. He goes, he was talking about that they had a character in the first 2 seasons of Babylon 5 was an ombudsman or whatever they call it, a judge basically. And he goes, the reason I created that character is because there's no way you're going to put 400 people in a tin can, fling them out into the dark of space, and not one of them is ever going to have a bad day. Bullshit. That was verbatim what he said.
Tree Rock also says Babylon 5 has great speeches.
Oh, yeah. JMS is a great writer. I mean, thankfully he hasn't gone full tard. In fact, he called out Ghostbusters Afterlife because they're apparently using villains that he wrote in for the real Ghostbusters cartoon. Because he wrote most of that show and created a lot of those villains, and they never consulted him.
That's why a lot of them do it, though. I mean, they do that. They like to cherry pick from stuff that's already out there and then not have to give any credit for it. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I hate Lucasfilm, because they did that shit with Star Wars. They cherry picked from the original EU canon, or, because they tried to say it wasn't canon. It was never canon, but it was. And it was admitted, it was proven, but, I mean, they wouldn't have had to decanonize it if it wasn't. But they cherry picked a lot of shit from there, rewrote it a little bit, and then threw it into their new Disney freaking trilogy.
Yep. Yeah, I hated what they did with Thrawn. Absolutely hated it. Like, that's not fun.
See that? We speak of Star Wars and George Lucas shows up. It's a beautiful thing.
It could be better. It could be Alec Baldwin's finger. That's one of my favorite YouTube handles.
Doug TeNapel needs to be taken off the blacklist, and Earthworm Jim needs the game he deserves.
Exactly. I loved Earthworm Jim. That was such a great game and kind of fun concept. An earthworm in a spacesuit. Come on. Yeah. Needs to go. Hey, kicking it. Make it gay. Make it lame.
I always say, though, I think that she is just a cog in that machine. It's really the people at the top, those board of the directors, are the one giving the marching orders.
It's Iger. He can deny it all I want. It's been Iger since the beginning.
Well, I remember when Iger left and they brought in, what was the other guy's name?
Bob Chapek. Yeah.
Chapek. When they brought him up, oh, it's saved. No, it's not. Iger's coming back. It's saved. No, it's not.
All the shit really started with Eisner. Back in the 90s. He's really the one that started Disney's downfall. And then Iger, pushed it farther down the cliff. Chapek was like the speed bump that they ran over, that Iger just went back up behind it and just started pushing farther.
No, I think Chapek was just a fall guy to freaking excuse all the problems. So, we're going to bring somebody in to replace him and fix it. I think that's all he was. He was just a placeholder.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't. And I actually liked Legacy. For its flaws, I liked it because it still stayed true to the idea of Tron. And there was a great Easter egg in one of the bonus features on that DVD, or I have the Blu-ray of it, where they were hinting that it was going to be Dillinger's son that was going to be the villain of the next one, which makes sense because Dillinger lost everything in the first movie, so I could see him hiding behind the scenes to come in and wreck shit. So I can see that.
I'm not sure about that, Papa, because I know he did do a lot of vignettes where he was actually speaking out against them. So, I mean,
he hated communists. It was very obvious he hated communists.
Now, I mean, I always say that Disney was always a bunch of thieves to begin with. I mean, you look what they did with a lot of the classical stories. They just 100% took them. They rewrote them enough to change them so they could claim it was all theirs and then put it out as they were all there. I mean, they did it with countless stories.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they have.
And I don't think anybody with common sense does, Chaosboy.
I don't. I liked a few episodes of the first season of Mandalorian. That was about it. I still to this day haven't watched Rise of Skywalker.
Me either. I didn't watch the one right before that.
I did watch it in the theaters with my girls.
Yeah,
I kind of want to see where they're going with the Force Awakens, because Force Awakens wasn't horrible, other than giving Han Solo a villain's death, which I thought was bullshit. But Last Jedi, I walked out of that theater and I was so fucking pissed.
I've seen a lot of people walk out confused. Now, see, I'm the complete opposite. Like, I wanted to walk out of Force Awakens midway through because I knew enough about the EU and I'd seen all the shit that they cherry picked. And I thought, oh, well, they're going to make Rey the daughter that's missing. Nope. And I was like, and then the absolute just pandering to fans by throwing C-3PO and R2-D2 and like all the shit they were just throwing in there just to get like the reaction. Oh, remember this? Remember this? Like, I didn't like the way they did everything. And they continued that with Rogue One and the Solo story.
They had the perfect formula. All we wanted to see as old fans, we wanted to see Han, Luke, and Leia together. Even if it was just one fucking scene. That's all we wanted. That's the one thing Star Trek Picard Season 3 did right. You had one scene where you have the entire crew in a conference room, and you're like, okay, this is Star Trek The Next Generation's crew. That's all we wanted. That's all we wanted from Picard. But the first two seasons, they're like, well, no, fuck you. We're going to change everything, and everyone's going to swear all the time, and we're going to parade Picard around like he's the pariah because he's an old white man. I'm surprised Terry Matalas still has a job because of season 3 of Picard, because he pretty much jettisoned everything they did for the most part. And on even an eighth of the budget of the first two seasons, and still made something that people actually like for the most part. I mean, I still had nitpicks with it, but for the most part, I was pleased with that season.
The Fall of Skywalker, like everybody's got their thoughts on this stuff.
I actually, anytime someone posts something positive about Rey, I just post the my rewrite of the Boney M song Rasputin. This Rey Palpatine, Mary suing plot machine.
This is true, Krish. I hear you, Papa. I know they're dead. And speaking of dead and what we would call the horse, we actually have a drive-by comment.
What car is that coming up? Creepy.
Drive-by!
DJ Ronnie G with The Horse Awakens. The running joke is that Kathleen Kennedy looks like a horse face.
You can tell she's had some work because her mouth doesn't move properly.
I'm sure a good salt lick and a nice little barn somewhere with some hay, and she would be just fine. Oh, Jesus. Good stuff, man.
Well, thank you for bringing me on. This is a lot of fun.
No, my pleasure, guys. The link has been dropped multiple times. The link is also in the description. Be sure to stop by and check out CJP Forgotten One Music. I know you run a show on Thursday. It's like almost like right after or right as we're getting ready to close out the toy stream.
Yeah, because I run it at 7 Central, so it'd be 8 p.m. your time.
8 p.m. Yeah. So yeah, we're not even started at that point because we started at 8:30.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I do the Forgotten One cast, and let's said this week I've got TJ the Gamer from Master Sword Music coming on, and we're going to talk about his music collective and the people that he works with and the music that he puts out, because he does a good mix of remixes of video game music and older or in original music that he does with his group. So I want to talk to him and kind of see how he balances between the two of those. Because sometimes you can get really up on doing remixes or really up on doing originals, and you kind of let one fall by the wayside.
Papa Bone has already subbed to the channel. Appreciate that, Bone. Curtis once again dropped the link in the chat. Thank you again, Curtis, man. You have been a superstar tonight for me. I really do appreciate that. Guys, we are getting ready to roll up on out of here. ETIP is getting ready to run some old school wrestling, so be sure to stop on over there. Let them know that the pig sent you. Guys, thank you for hanging out. CJP, thank you for coming on and being a most excellent guest. And we will see you next one. I'm not sure exactly who the next participant is, but I have a clue because I've actually been in talks with a nice lady who said that she is more than willing to come on. She's got to check her calendar to make sure that she's not running up against any other, how to put that, any other prior engagements. There we go. Boom. Figured it all out, and it didn't take too long. I thought I was going to figure it out tomorrow. This sometimes happens. Yeah, you have a good one-time profit. Guys, thank you for stopping in. Bone, thank you for dropping Curtis's link, because Curtis never shills himself, and he absolutely should. This guy deserves it. Be sure to stop by and check out some of Curtis's stuff too. I'm Not Creative. It's not here. Usually is. Stop by and check out some of this stuff. He's having a problem with a disgusting YouTuber. Like, holy shit, she's like the disgusting person that like freaking says rotten, hateful, spiteful things to kids. Like she wants to kill kids and other shit like that. Like people like that, they need to be removed from existence as far as I'm concerned.
The press secretary is going to be on there?
That bitch. But guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. Remember, never let anybody tell you what you can and can't say, what you should or should not think, because your silence and compliance gives consent, and we will catch you next time. Later, y'all.
Forget the big string, you should spend. Assimilated, but you don't know yet. Attacking us is not very wise. Our army's growing if we see through your lies.
What we are looking at
good and evil, right and wrong. It's a big world order. A big world order. A big world order. A big world order. Somebody's gonna wind up getting their toes nibbled off in here. A big world order. 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 Better hide your toes as we're coming for 'em. A big world order. A big world order. A big world order.